What's up, artists, art lovers, and other creatives? This is Art Life Confidential, and I am your host, Tracy L. Turner. Today is a special episode of the show because I'm featuring my very first guest, y'all. The following is a recording where I chat with my very good friend, Whiskey Girl. She is a writer, blogger, and spoken word artist from the Washington, D.C. area. You'll hear us talk a bit about the realities of being quote-unquote broke artists and how we deal with trying to build credibility in order to begin earning what we think that we're worth as creatives. The starving artist trope can be both a myth and a truth, depending on the level of your grind, what you're offering to people and their demand for it, and how well you're able to generate those streams of income through your work. We, however, have not figured that out yet and decided to talk about it on the show. So, have a listen. So, all right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the show today. It is my pleasure to introduce the very first guest on Art Life Confidential. She's a writer, spoken word artist, bad bitch, and one of my very best friends. She is Whiskey Girl from the Washington, D.C. area. Thank you for coming on today.
Hey guys, hey. I didn't know it was your first guest.
Yes.
Dope.
Yes.
That's, oh my God. That makes my mascara run a little bit.
Well, tell the people a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, you'll have to cut me off because I'm a little self-absorbed. I might be offended. But, yeah, so like you said, I'm a blogger, first and foremost. That's like my first love. And self-published author, and then I'm a performance artist as well. So, I started with a blog maybe actually 5 years ago or so. And it was just kind of like this mental health thing I did to release, and I wanted to start writing again. And then I fell in love with writing again, and it's led to all of these dope things. In an effort to try to get people to read my blog, I started this grassroots thing of going out to open mics in the DC area. And I would perform poetry and sometimes read from my blog excerpts and get people to check out everything. So it turned into this whole spoken word artist thing. So now you can add performance poet to that, which is kind of cool. I've been doing that about 3 years, and I'm just coming off a whole book tour that I booked myself. I'm very proud of that. 4 of the events is part of it was maybe 20 events over 3 months. 4 of those I produced myself, so that was really cool. And it was for my latest chapbook release, Mercury in Retrograde, but my rent is still due. And that kind of gives you a glimpse into my personality. I'm real. It's not like any cerebral writing that's over your head. I basically just write about everyday black girl shit, everyday shit. And it's meant to relate to regular people because I feel like we're always supposed to relate to beautiful or exceptional people, but what about regular ass people? So that's pretty much my whole feel, is that I'm a regular ass bitch trying to relate to other artists and other people alike. So that's the whole Whiskey Girl brand.
Oh, awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, you and I have been friends for definitely over 2 decades at least.
Oh my God, is it over 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
I would say so at this point, yeah. So,
and I'll say this, not to get all emotional or, ass kissing, but the reason I got into this stuff and have gotten so far with it and kept going with it is definitely you. Watching you throughout the process of our friendship like at some point you were like, you know what, I want to pursue my art dreams. And watching you go to art school and like come up with these painting concepts and your first show and all of that has been like really cool, really inspiring, and that's kind of like how I got into all this stuff. I even like you started your purple paintbrush blog. And I used to guest write for your blog for Salvador Dali's birthday.
Yep.
And that's how I got into blogging, and I tell everybody that story. So, yeah, it's really cool that you've been my inspiration. So I'm happy to do this episode with you.
Damn. You flatter me very, very much with that. Thank you. But, you've been doing such an amazing job these last few years, and it's been exciting to see, and I will do...
I'm so glad it appears that way.
Well, that's definitely kind of what this show is about, is kind of going behind the curtains and showing everybody what that process is really like, and a lot goes into making it appear like we know what we're doing, and a lot of times we don't. And it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay, but it's not like, okay.
Depends on who you talk to. I'll see.
Yeah. I don't want to be discouraging.
Oh, no. I mean, I think all I asked from you or anybody or from myself is just to be honest. And,
got you on that.
Yeah, so even if the honesty comes across pessimistic, well, whatever. It's what you really think. This is a safe space. And, I'm not going to discourage it. But, I think this topic about the finances and managing money, about our, the creative pursuits, I definitely wanted to bring you on for this topic because you and I frequently have our own private conversations about this, about the financial aspect of being an artist. And look, okay, I'm just going to point out here to the listeners that this is not going to be an episode that's going to explain best practices about how to manage your money and be good.
This ain't a webinar.
No. Because I definitely have not figured that part out yet. That's actually one thing that is on my list to do and get better about, is to educate myself more about how to... I mean, I'm fine money-wise in my personal life, but as far as my creative life, it's a little helter-skelter. Because it's just... it's a business, and it's not like I learned all this stuff in school or anything. I'm just kind of learning as I go. And I imagine that it's like that for a lot of us out there. So this episode is not going to tell you what to do. It's going to be more about presenting a more realistic image of what it's like when you're being more serious about pursuing your creative goals. And so, there are other podcasts or shows that are out there that do kind of dig into the financial aspect. Yeah, the Starving Artist podcast is one that is about asking those prying questions about how the artists got to where they are, specifically in their money life. But no, this is not it. This is just two of us speaking about our own experiences and speaking of presenting a realistic, or rather unrealistic in this case, image. So Whiskey and I have this particular gripe about a Netflix show called She's Gotta Have It. The main character is a full-time artist living in present day, I have to point out, present day New York City, Brooklyn, I think, to be specific.
In Brooklyn, a brownstone.
Yeah. She's in these oddly convenient circumstances that allow her to do this with relative ease, and she doesn't live cheaply. And
her parents are rich.
Yeah, both of her parents are artists too, but they help her out a lot, and that's the thing. So a major gripe about all this is that, to me, the way I read it is that it's kind of perpetuating this unrealistic stereotype of, oh, I'm an artist in New York and I'm making it all work and I have this beautiful apartment, brownstone apartment by myself, just this full-time ass artist. And it's like that show, it's like, that's not realistic.
It was so distracting you can't even get into all the other bullshit that the show is about.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'm so irritated that she sold a painting for that amount on break. I couldn't even focus on the storyline and who bought it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I can still know. I was just so jealous. I was like, should I create a love event and start like fucking different dudes? Is this gonna propel me? Like, it just took me to a crazy place where I couldn't even like enjoy the series because I was like, but how are you in that brownstone now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a lot of things to not like about this show. I'm not recommending anyone see it. I'm just bringing it up.
So how do you feel about it, Jason?
No, I really did not like that show at all for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons, is the way that they've depicted this lady as a full-time artist. I think, gosh, for a lot of reasons, it's just not real. It's just not real. But they kind of vaguely covered how she was supposedly able to maintain this lifestyle, and you do have to kind of pay attention and or read between the lines in it. So, her parents were not necessarily rich, but they were supporting her a lot. She had a rich sugar daddy.
Their relationship with her landlord that let her skate by on the rent and stuff.
Yep. And charged her real cheap rent, which...
Listen, to live that stressfully, like, I wanted to smoke a lot while watching it because my nerves were on edge. Like, I'm late with the rent, like, quite a lot. But I learned the system. Like, back in the day when I was dealing with my mental health stuff and just not on point, right? I had, like, sheriffs at my door. So I know the timing, which you could be a little late for real. All right. But it's just kind of like, I can't live my life like, that's how I live my life when I didn't have my shit together. Not that I'm paying the rent on time these days, but I'm just saying, like, her, like, running into her landlord every day and being like, oh, I don't have your money. I was like,
hell nah, bitch, that is not the way it works.
It didn't capture the anxiety of like, one, the desperation that goes into your work when you're strapped for cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Just, I guess she was a free spirit, so that's how she lived her life like that. Like, but
well, she had a lot of support, so she could be footloose and fucking fancy free like that. Yeah, her landlord was super nice about her skipping out on rent and charging her so much less money. And
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but there is the pretty privilege that was at work. She was just hot and charming people. So.
That's a show for a different podcast.
That we did, and it's kind of like the aura of like, I'm just a free spirit artist, and it's like, okay, I believe in you. Let's give her a chance. That shit is not real because like, okay, I believe in you. It takes them like maybe 5 more times of seeing you and you proving your art is worth it before they're like, okay, maybe I'll invest in this financially or cut her a break or something like that.
And that's a stranger. That's just, who we're talking about is a stranger. She had a sugar daddy who was buying her supplies and buying her work at these really high prices and stuff. And so that's another thing to point out. It's not just this, oh, I'm such a great artist and consistently doing shows and selling work and being out there, and that's how I'm able to support myself. No, that is not how she was living her life. Her best friend owned a gallery or was like a curator for a gallery. So she had an in to be a part of a big show with other really well-known artists. So maybe that part might be a little more realistic, having those connections to get you in the right spots. But
you know,
yeah, but she didn't even take that seriously either. So like, how is this lady making money?
Like, you know, what I was thinking to myself, I was like, we're going to have to do another episode because to talk about how she felt when there's the art that she wanted to present to people, and that's what her best friend allowed her to exhibit, and she got crushed in that exhibit. It was a group exhibit, and people didn't really like her stuff. Mm-hmm. But her secret work that she wanted to remain anonymous is what people really liked, and she kind of had this, like, I don't want people to know stance that was unrealistic too. So I'm like, maybe that's another episode, because it's like, when people discover your work under a pseudonym or whatever, are you really going to be like, no, that's just something I'm going to be like, yes, that's me.
Yeah, bitch. That is totally me. It costs $3,000 a pop, bitch. Hello? I was like, isn't this the very thing you're fucking questing for, you ass? Oh my God. It was so annoying.
How can you turn down that kind of opportunity when people start to notice your work, even if you're trying to do it anonymously? Like, and okay, so I'll take a second to say this. When I started getting into writing again, and I started with blogging, I talked about earlier how it led to all this other stuff. So that's actually, I accidentally became a performance poet. And it's like this cool thing where I get to self-publish poetry books and people buy, and that's like a small source of income, very small, maybe like $15 for every book I write, but it's a small source of income. But I'm just saying, like, if you are once you start exploring your creative art and your artistry, you do find that it leads to other talents that you didn't know you had, and other things that are fun to you that you just kind of like to do. So are you telling me that you, Tracy, as a visual artist, if your podcast picks up and people are like, oh, we dig the art, we dig your podcast, you're talking about art, and you get all of these subscribers, you start to get like some notoriety and stuff, that you're going to be like, it's about my art. I don't want...
No, I'm not monetizing this at all. Bitch, the fuck? I will find a way. I will find a way. Yes, please, my PayPal email is... Shit.
It's for me, it's like, and I refer to Beyonce a lot, and I hate that it makes it seem that I like dig her, but not necessarily. I dig her PR team and her whole, like, the shit she has going on where she can do no wrong, but she talks about, like, the raunchiest, like, hoiest stuff, and her ass is out, but still she's, like, perceived as the most classiest woman on earth, right? So I just kind of like her brand and all that other stuff, but it's like her being like, I'm not a dancer, I came to give you a show, and if she sat on a stool and sang the whole time, you'd be like, bitch, you drunk in love, you gonna show us? That part was unrealistic too. Like, I would definitely say, as far as trying to monetize, and again, this is not like a how-to because we broke this shit.
Yeah. Yep.
If one of my side projects like pick up and become like a big deal, of course I'm gonna like try to bring it all back to, oh yeah, check out my blog stuff.
Yeah, write it out. Yeah, use that to expand, like you said, to bring in the other stuff that you do. There's always a way. So, Whiskey, I'm gonna ask, what has been, as an independent writer, spoken word artist, poet, what has been your particular struggles with monetizing your passions?
So I almost want to grab my notebook and write down several things. I would say first is that, and this is kind of like where we are today, where people achieve so much social media fame, and you have to get people like on your bandwagon before anyone will pay you any attention. That can be kind of a distraction, and you end up trying to impress the wrong people, and you start to lose your sense of worth. Right? You start to let other people decide what you are worth. and arbitrary things like the amount of likes that you get on a post. And it's like, if I write a dope blog post, or if I write a dope book in front of the right person, it'll be this amazing piece of art. But in social media, if it only got 17 likes, I'm doubting myself, like, okay, well, maybe I should decrease the price or just sell it for free, because no one's going to take me seriously as an artist. So it's kind of like that. It's easy to doubt yourself and compare yourself and that kind of thing. And that has been tough for me, just kind of establishing what my worth is and being staunch about it. Not letting it be like, okay, if they purchase an item from me at value that I placed it at, and then they visit my social media and see that I'm only getting like 6 or 7 likes, are they going to be like, well, she's not worth it? So I don't even know what you would call that, like misplaced worth or disappropriated worth. That's kind of been a thing. And it is hard, I would say, monetizing, because you have to convey the message to whoever digs your art that you are independent. People don't know what that means. Independent, indie kind of became this cool, like, hipster term. And it's not, I don't know. I just don't like it doesn't have a true connotation anymore to me, because independent, like the inner circle of creatives that do this shit understand that independent means that you fund yourself.
Yeah.
Means that you don't have a team of people. You're the one sending the newsletter emails. You're the one doing the web updates. You're the one, doing the business of your creative art. And you're essentially like a one-man or one-person show. Even if you do have help, it's like kind of like ad hoc and sporadic. So a lot of people don't understand that you have to fund a lot into things. So if I write a chapbook and I want to sell it for $10, I actually should sell it for $20 because of the work that I put into it. Plus I have to fund getting the books back. Like, the books are like maybe $2 and some change each, but you have to pay for the books and you have to get them shipped. And if I don't have any money, I can't buy books to sell other people.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of this vicious cycle, and I feel like people don't understand that's what independent means. So if you go out and get a John Grisham book, he can sell that for $10 because he has a publishing company that backs him, that is doing all the printing for him. But when it comes to individual artists, you're doing everything yourself, and your book is worth a lot more for you to get the return on it. But people aren't willing to invest in those high prices. So it's kind of like Nola Darling having her painting for $10,000. Like, I'm sure you feel it's worth that, bitch, as far as like the emotions you put into it, and maybe the expensive paint that your sugar daddy bought you to make it. But honestly, if you want to sell that shit, you would lower the price tremendously, because people are like, who are you?
Yeah.
And why am I buying your stuff? So that, I'm just really relieved we're talking about this, because monetizing is totally something that I'm trying to focus on this year in a big way. And part of that is just like having big balls and being like, yeah, this is how much that costs. So, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that is one thing that we have to understand and not feel bad about. I think, especially as artists, a lot of us do have the tendency to feel bad for asking what something is actually worth to us. And I don't know, it'll probably always be that way until you have somebody that ends up being the middleman selling things for you.
Exactly. And it's a long way to get to that pathway. And then I would say, like, as far as monetizing, the other, like, snafu that I have is that maybe like a year and a half ago, I was like, you know what? Invest in yourself, bitch. Like, do this for you. Pretend like you have a team like Beyonce. Pretend that you can do it all for yourself. But with investing in yourself financially, you don't always get that return. You're basically like investing in yourself to a different level to eventually get the money out of it. But it could never happen,
right.
Or it could be very far off, and that's something that's scary, and it's scary. The only word I started thinking about it, and I got all anxious.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
What I've invested in myself doesn't come back to me, and I was just like, oh, there was a whiskey one time, and she was a dope poet. Cool. Or if nobody remembers, it's like, okay, but I want people to actively like be involved in the content that I'm creating and that stuff. But who knows if it'll even come to fruition? So there's even that fear. There's so many layers to the monetizing. I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, how do you feel? Do you feel like you'll ever be like a full-time like Nola Darling?
No, I don't. and I'm not saying that because I think my work is shitty or that I'm not in the right city. I don't think any of those things. I just think that it's really, really hard, and I don't have the expectation that I will be in that small ass percentage that is, while I'm living, going to be able to make enough money to live solely off of being just an artist. It's just really, really hard.
Yeah.
I don't think it's enough of a thing though to allow that to deter you if that's what you want to do. I just think we have to understand going into it that it's not going to make us much money for a long time. Unless you're just one of those people that just get so lucky at the right time, iron strikes hot or whatever, and you're able to blow up relatively quickly. But that's not most of us. So, I mean, luckily though, I do have a job. So I'm fine with allowing that to supplement everything. I have a full-time job. I mean, it's not necessarily creative, but it is in the art field, design field. So and I'm fine with that. And I just do my other art stuff when I can. I definitely don't consider it a hobby, but I understand it's going to take a while if I ever get to a point where it's a much higher level than where I am now. But I think when you do these things, you have to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Yeah, it'd be great to be able to live off of it, but really what should be the motivator, if you're really serious, at least in my opinion, what should be the motivator is just because you have to do it. It's just the passion that's there. You do it because you have to do it. Because if you're going into it thinking, okay, I'm about to sell these prints and it's about to blow up, I'm going to be on Tumblr and it's just going, within the year it's about to be on. If that's why you're entering it, then you might as well stop. We don't need that. And it's just not realistic. So, I mean, I think being an artist now is a lot different and probably a little easier than it was before. It seemed to be way more exclusive and kind of elitist for a long time. But now with the internet, that tide has shifted dramatically. And so,
and the problem is everybody's trying to get a piece of that pie, right?
Yeah.
So you have people who are building brands or like faking this shit, and kind of getting that being noticed because I don't know, it's a little bit to do with luck, a little bit to do with knowing how to finesse the social media game, and like, voila, you can paint the picture of talent. And people are like, okay, I just feel like this is talent. Mm-hmm. It kind of like murks the water for those of us who do feel like, this is like genuine talent that I bring to the table. And it's not about the fame. But if I could just constantly create and be paid enough to make a decent living for it, like, that's the dream.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily fame, it's just sustainability.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that would be great, and that's not a bad goal to shoot for. But yeah, it does take a lot out of you financially, emotionally, mentally, physically. It's not easy, and it's the type of thing that that most people don't understand and can't see.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to deal with those comments. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you listening may have dealt with parents who maybe try to discourage you from pursuing art or what have you, and I'm sure that their intentions were meant to be good and trying to look out for you, but yeah, it's you just got to do what you need to do and what you got to do, but knowing that, yeah, you probably are going to be kind of broke, at least relatively. I mean, again, I have a job, so I don't know. I don't consider myself a starving artist. Yeah, I'm not making my money solely off of my work, but I do work and I have a steady stream of income. So I'm like, bitch, I'm eating. What you talking about? I know someone tried to call me a starving artist once. I'm like, hell no, I'm not. Girl, I'm living.
Right, like, bitch, you want surprise? Because I got this.
Yeah, and when I am able to make extra money from my work, that's cool too. Yeah, but it would be nice to figure out how to shift it so where I'm making more of my money from my work and not from my
and at the same point,
day job.
Is, like, and I will say that that's a cool feeling and that's an accomplishment to like, the stuff that I do supplement my income enough where, you know, it's been a while since I've had to borrow money from niggas. You know, I used to just, like, well, one, bad money management in general. But it was just really tough for me to make ends meet, like, in between the paychecks. But now, like constantly gigging and getting paid for certain things, it's like, it gives me enough money in the in-between time that I'm always okay. So even that in of itself has been, I had to go through leaps and bounds to get to that point. And that's a nice feeling. But then I don't know if you start getting greedy or you just have that hunger or that desire to be free. Like, you just want to create your art. You just want to focus on that. I'm at work, like, thinking about what I want to write about and if I have time to do it when I get home. And imagining who would I be if I had, you know, 8 hours a day to create instead of 8 hours doing my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. But that's another, like, more leaps and more bounds to try to get to. And I don't feel like that's a ton to ask.
No, it isn't too much to ask at all. But
it helps me make it a little more realistic. I have heard someone say to me that I should I'll probably keep my 9 to 5 because I do have children. Like, I can't be out here on the streets, like, hoping somebody will buy a book so I can feed my children. Like, I can't rely on that.
No.
I need somebody who's signing off on my time sheet and giving me a payroll check.
Benefits.
Every week.
For, yeah.
But I think the whiskey's getting to me. I think I lost my train of thought.
Oh, no. You're fine. Well, okay. What ways have you tried already to try to amass some money?
Okay, so I don't even know if I want to mention events in this one because it wasn't necessarily for money. I was trying, but I couldn't figure out the business of that, right? So as far as the performing side of it, I had trouble finding platforms for myself at first. So I created my own platforms and I started curating and producing my own shows. And it's kind of like if you plan the show right, you rent the venue, you get your homies to come out and contribute to the event. to perform or whatever. And then when people pay the ticket of entry, you should at least like make a little coin off of that. But then that just kind of got to the point where I started doing events, and then the more events that I did, I started feeling guilty that I wasn't paying other artists, even though I do free gigs myself, and I should have just been more staunch about like, hey, this is some free ass shit. But then it feels weird having people give their talents on stage and then you getting the payout for it. So the event thing just kind of became a mess and a money suck, and I really tried to make that a thing where I could make some cash, but I think at its best, I broke even. And then in the past, I've done the chapbooks that I've self-published. That's kind of cool because, just to be a little revealing, say I pay like $130 for 30 books to come, and those 30 books sell at $10, and so if I sell all of those, I get $300 back, So I do make a little bit of profit on doing the books, but it's not an immediate profit. I would say with my last book tour, because I did 2 back-to-back events that were centered around the book, that I probably made my money back the fastest because I just sold books because the people were there to see me and to buy the book.
Yeah.
So that is something that I feel like I kind of accidentally stumbled upon. Like with the book tour, the behind-the-scenes story, the book tour started in October. The book did not come out until November. And the reason it didn't come out until November is because I didn't have the fucking money to buy any books. So what I did was I did all these performance days, and I performed the poems in the book to generate hype. And it kind of like got the name of the book on people's lips. And a couple of people were like, yo, when's the book coming out? Or they were just prepared for its release and ready to buy it. So I think that was kind of cool, and that's something I'm definitely going to do again. Is like generate hype and, publicize the project to get some buy-in and do pre-orders and stuff. And then with that hype, you kind of need to generate the hype after you've already purchased the books. And then this year, my sole focus is on like cleaning up financially. I do have to recover some of the travel I did for the tour. Not all of the appearances were paid for, so a lot of that stuff was me investing into myself. So I have to get my finances right with that, and I have to be smarter. As a performance poet, you kind of like make the rounds with the open mics. Open mics are only $5, which is great. But if you're doing like a whole making the rounds, trying to meet people, trying to keep your name out there, then that money starts to add up too. So this year I've kind of focused on things that I could do, like sitting behind my computer, where it's the physical effort for me and it's the cerebral effort, but not the monetary effort. So I have ebooks now. And instead of selling them through a third-party website, they're sold on my site. So anybody who buys an ebook from me, that is PayPal direct to me. And other than the PayPal fee, no other fees are coming out. Because I think it's nice to do, like if you put your book on Amazon and all that other stuff, but they do try to charge you or send you through a process where they're getting their coins too.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I put myself on Amazon, I would love to think that people would be like, oh, Whiskey Girl, who's this? It'll drive so much traffic to me, and I'll have all these new fans. But do you know how many people have put their shit on Amazon? People are discovering this shit, like, organically, just cruising through Amazon, like, oh, I was buying some liquid leggings, and,
I mean, and even then, to get that visibility, these companies ask you to pay out for that.
Exactly, and I'm just kind of like, and I've kind of been focused on like low-key the true fans thing, and we'll get to, okay, if I make the grassroots effort and make connections with people who love what I do, then let me try to get those people to consistently buy instead of always widening the scope and trying to get everybody to catch on. And recently, I'm really excited about this. I don't know how far it can go. I've heard a couple of people tell me that they haven't been successful with it or whatever, but I started a Patreon account.
Okay.
Yeah, so Patreon is this thing where people can directly support you by pledging a certain amount of money to you each month, and in return, you give them rewards. So they're called your patrons. So if someone becomes a patron, you can release like behind the scenes information to them. You can do personalized videos. You can share projects with them and get like their feedback on it. And it's a way for people who are a fan of what you do to interact and give rewards and directly support you. And that up, and I'm doing that now because I would rather, instead of waiting for me to release a new project and pushing that to the people who are anticipating my next project, just be like, okay, be along with me for the ride. For $10, pledging $10 a month, you get free ebooks from me for as long as you're a patron. You get, whenever the chapbook comes out, you get it free because technically you've already paid for it. You've been paying, by the month. And then you also get to go along on the creative process journey for me. And I like that concept because generally when you start to appreciate somebody's art, you get curious and you want to know who they are behind the scenes. So I think like with Patreon, stuff like that, it's like a whole package deal. And right now, the marketing for it, trying to sell it to the right people who will be on board with it, not thinking that I'm trying to scam them, and selling it to people who think that I'm worth a couple of bucks a month, for them to can continuously be in the know and to receive like free gifts and rewards from me in the form of new writing projects or like with the blog, I have controversial topics that I'd like to write about, but I kind of like don't on that blog because that's become a separate thing, and then a lot of people peep it and family and all this other stuff. So I'm like, okay, I will share all my raunchy, like truly, this is what I feel like blog on the Patreon site, and the patrons who like really want to get to know me and what I'm really thinking, that's kind of like another cool thing for them. So I'm excited trying to monetize. I've cut back on doing the events. I have a passion for trying to help people get off their feet or help people like book shows and that kind of thing, but I just have to really focus on me and really focus on how I can at least feel like my supporters have a direct line to me, and then in that I'm focusing projects on those people instead of trying to cast a wide net. So we'll see, girl. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fucking know too much either. I feel very fortunate to have made the little bit of coin that I've been able to make. and I have tried a few different things. I mean, I've sold things to people directly, either at like table events or just people asking me, hey, you got that painting? Can I buy it? Oh, yeah, sure. People have contacted me through email, Facebook, Etsy, where else? I mean, you really do need to be able to spread yourself out like that so people can find you. You have these multiple sources of income or ways at least to be able to sell what you're trying to sell yourself. And
basically,
yeah,
that can like maintaining being a one person show and maintaining all of these different avenues is intense.
It is a lot, and you do have to make sure you're at least sort of decent about tracking it all and being willing to do what you can to market it and spread the word, and you have to keep spreading the word. You can't just post it once and be like, oh, well, I told y'all. No, you mean...
That's the hard part, because you feel like, I forget what it was. I don't know if it was the book tour or some shit, but I was posting again, and I was like, I'm sick of me too, y'all. My captions were just like, dope show, please.
Oh, one friend posed it to me this way. She was saying how so these companies like Target and all this and that, she's like, they still advertise. They spend all sorts of money advertising. You already know who they are. You know where to go, but they still gonna tell you to come. So you got to keep being in people's faces. And I was like, okay.
And that's like the bullshit clause of being a creative artist, because when you see a sponsored post on your timeline by Target, me personally, I feel violated. I'm like, I don't want to see this shit. Get the fuck out of my face. But when you see that on your Instagram timeline, you're like, oh, cool, Target. Look at the little dog with the little eye thing. I love Target. But when you see my shit, you're like, oh, bitch, posting again. So it's just like, Target doesn't get that. It's so weird that these big brands, you know, it's a comforting thing to us, so we're okay with it. But then when it's a person, a nigga like you just trying to make it, you're like offended. Like, how dare you keep talking about this one thing that I keep ignoring? Well, I probably want to go, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people still see us as the same level as them. And so they don't want to give their money to someone's like, oh, well, shit, I got to eat too. And so, unless they really feel attached to you and what you're doing, they're going to be a little more selective about where they want to spend their dollars. And if they feel like what you're doing is, I mean, I don't know, if they don't take what you're doing seriously, they're just not going to give a shit. And they are going to feel like, oh, God, here's this girl again trying to push her damn paintings. I saw this same one last week. She keep talking about it. Move on. But fuck them. I don't want them niggas to be buying my shit anyway. I mean, I want,
people that are like, oh, my God, you did this? Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've learned the value of that, too, is just I don't think that there's that much money. I'm trying to figure out how to get, I was going to say how to get money out of it. That sounds terrible.
Well, I mean, isn't that essentially what we try to do?
Yeah, I mean, you want to, like, I like the background story that I read, like, when I was, like, looking into Patreon. I think you mentioned it, right? And randomly, I think it was, like, last weekend, I was just like, oh, let me check it out. And basically, they were like, I'm super paraphrasing here. Dude was on YouTube creating content, like he's a musician, thousands of views and stuff, like hundreds of thousands of views, likes people all in his business, oh, release this song, making requests, and he's doing all this shit, and then he realized nobody's paying him. And he was like, well, what if there's a way that people who are making requests for me to do this songs, people who want to see, like, me recording all this other stuff, what if there's a way for them to, like, pledge an amount to, like, have exclusive access to this instead of me giving away all this content that I create for free. And I think that's what it comes down to, is that you feel as a creative artist that you have to give a ton away for free. And my approach to it has been, but wait, there's more. For all the free shit that I give out that you like, there's more layers to that that you can have access to. And there's a reward for you if you choose to, to pay money to access that.
But isn't it crazy that you have to think of it like that, where it's kind of like baiting people in? I mean, I definitely am a type where I'm like, look, this is what it is. Here, if you want it, you don't. You're like, I definitely lean more towards that. I mean, I don't mind exposing more, but I don't know. I haven't figured out a way yet to do it in the way that you're speaking about how Patreon is set up. I don't know. I haven't quite figured out if that's the route I want to go yet, but I don't know. I'm just listening to you right now, and it's just like, damn, the way that you kind of have to do these maneuvers to get people to pay you.
Oh yeah, like and Patreon sends you all these like articles and stuff about what to say and what not to say, and they said don't use the word supporters. That's why I've been tripping over myself this whole podcast, not saying supporters, but I'm like. If a nigga is sending me $10 a month to do my shit, that's a supporter. I don't give a fuck. But to your point, like, when I looked into Patreon, I had to really think about what is it going to be for me. And I think it just came, not to use the word easily, but it just came to me suddenly or expediently because I do this full brand thing. Like, the whiskey girl persona, the performing, and then I do like poetry workshops and anti-bullying workshops. It's just like this whole umbrella of stuff. So I realized that I have a ton of stuff to kind of like tier out to these different pledge levels. But I think for you, like, for example, if you did a Patreon, it would be like very art specific, and it would be something like, okay, if you pledge $20 a month, then you get like a free, I'll send you like a cute little cartoon graphic like each month or something like that. So it wouldn't necessarily look the same. It would probably be more streamlined. But mine, since I'm like into all this bullshit, it's just kind of like, you feel my stuff.
Yeah.
Videos and poetry. And I mean, like at each level, you get one 16-bar personalized poem a month. Like, and then you get, the early release on projects, and then, reading live videos of projects out loud, and then exclusive access to like a video of an event I had a couple months ago. Like,
so it's a whole other level of creativity that goes into even something like that.
What do you mean another level of creativity?
Just figuring out, well, what can I provide to these patrons that is a little more exclusive, that they feel like is worth their money and that I can keep doing over time. I mean, I am a bit too lazy for that. I will go ahead and admit it right here. Like, I would have to sit down and be like, oh God, what is something I could do if that's, I also think, I think it's quite brave of you to just jump out there and be like, all right, yeah, I'm doing this Patreon. I don't know anybody other than you who is doing it. I just know people who are already have a large, fan base, quote unquote, that use it to a pretty decent effect. So me, I'm like, nobody really knows who the fuck I am. So I haven't tried doing it, but I don't know. I maybe I would get something. Have you been able to get any bites off of yours yet?
Well, yeah, I got, this made my day, and it wasn't like my pledge level started at like they're at $10, $20, and $30 a month, right? And rewards come with that. But you can be a patron for like $1 a month or something. So I did get one patron the other day. I kicked it out to my newsletter and just kind of explained what it was. I was like, hey, if you want to be a patron, if you want to have access to this stuff, like, check it out at least. And I had a person hit me up. I was like, yeah, I am going to check it out. Like, I don't have a bunch of money, but I want to support you. Mm-hmm. And I'm so psyched off that one patron. And that's when I realized, like, I can have my payment tiers or whatever, but now in all my, advertisements and blasts about it, I'm saying for as little as $1 a month, you can access some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And go from there. And like you said, nobody knows who you are, that kind of thing. Like, I mentioned the 1,000 true fans, and that was like that concept. If you hone in on the people who really just dig your work and kind of build out from that fan base, then that's better than casting the wide net sort of thing. So I'm kind of using that concept. In the Patreon thing, I feel confident in doing it, because I'll say this. The last show of the book tour was December 17th, And I rented out this little space with like some dope artwork in it, and like had a good vibe to it, right? And I just said, okay, I'm gonna do a 1-woman show, and I'm gonna read the full chapbook. I'm gonna perform it for people. You know, we're gonna have like some light hors d'oeuvres. Of course, we're gonna have like some whiskey drinks, and let's just chill. And most of my events I keep at $5 or $10 because people start to feel like, who are you that I'm paying this much money for that, right?
Yeah.
But just step out there and see what happens. So I did this event, and it was $25 a pop, and I was surprised at the amount of people who came out to see me, and that was the best show I've ever done in my life, because I felt that the people were there for me. They were hanging on my every word, and I was like, I want to appeal to people like that, to people who dig the art, people who connect to the writing, and being brave enough to do that, even though I was worried it was just going to be like an empty house. But I hired a videographer, so I was just like, if there's nobody in here, just don't pan to the audience. Pretend or like add in an applause track or some shit. We gonna make it work. That kind of allowed me, like this year in 2018, I was just like, I want to be worth it. I know how much work I put into this, and I made a promise to myself, like, as much work as I put into figuring out how to monetize, into branding, and all this other stuff, I need to put that same amount of work into the art. And when I'm performing on stage, I feel like I was able to lose myself and get to another level. And I watched the videos back from that performance. And, you know, usually you're your own worst critic. And you're like, oh, I could do this. I was like, bitch, you the shit. Like, you are really working on elevating. You are putting time into this shit. You're losing sleep. You are grinding hard enough. Why not put yourself out there and be like, this is what I'm worth? Are you good with it? And it's kind of like, even taking that leap, people start to believe in you because you do. They're like,
yeah.
You doing this?
Yeah. And they don't want to miss out. They want to get in on that level and then be like, oh yeah, I knew her win.
Yeah, and you know what it is that I think a lot of people, as revealing as I am, because, you know, the whole Whiskey Girl brand is all like, bleh, all over my business. But as revealing as I am, when I embark on projects that don't work, I just let them fizzle out. I don't do a whole like, so I shut down my Patreon account. I would just like stop. Yeah. And I think that kind of traps us up too, like getting like so caught up on our failures, and then like sharing too much of our failures, that kind of thing. Like, this is okay because we're all trying to figure it out. But if I came on here and specifically talked about all the projects that bombed and the shit I went to do, it would just kind of be like, okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very inspiring.
Yeah, and she's not very good, so maybe she should just
Okay.
I don't know. I really feel like any leaps you can take, anything you can do to try to be like, you know what, I'm that bitch and I'm totally worth it, then people will either try to call your bluff or they'll like hop on board.
Yeah, 50-50.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So to kind of start, what?
Sounded false.
No, it doesn't. I'm going to tell you how I sounded.
That was it. 100.
That is not how I said it. I'm trying to figure out how to segue. So that's what that was. I'm trying. My mouth was slower than my mind just now. So, but of course I believe in you. Otherwise I wouldn't have you on my damn show. Shit.
Oh, but homie, so like.
But no, to kind of start wrapping things up a little bit with some closing thoughts. So knowing that figuring out how to monetize your passion at this point in life is pretty difficult. And it may not ever be where you would like it to be. What keeps you going?
What keeps me going? to be completely honest, I'm crazy and I can't stop. Like, well, no, because you're so far away, you don't get to see it in action too much. Probably, like my homie here, musician friend M. Lewis, he probably gets the most of it or sees how it works. And maybe like Randy, like I have ideas that just pop in my head. Or if someone plants a seed in my head, it'll fester for a while, and then next thing you know, it has to come out. After I wrapped up the book tour, I went on hiatus, and I was like, okay, I just need a long break. I need to stop for a while. And I had plans to like quietly work on some stuff and just be so low key. But then on top of those plans, I sprouted these ideas from other things, and I wasn't going to perform for a long time, but I'm performing next week. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's a private show that I'm doing with a musician friend of mine, and it could have just been like, we show up, we do the private show, we dip. But I was like, you got to market this shit. Like, what are we called together? What do we do together? Oh, I write about, you know, a damaged, broken woman. You write about, you know, a man who just wants a chance with a woman, that kind of thing. I was like, what about the healing session? You are, you know, the nigga that writes the words that eases the mind of the woman that I write about. So we got to do a live stream. We got to market this. We got to brand this. So the way my brain works is that I can't stop. And if I do stop, I start to settle into, like, depression. Or I just start to feel like I'm not doing enough. I love being a mom. I love, you know, my job where I work, that kind of thing. So I have a full day without this shit. Trust me. And by the time I get the kids settled into bed, I want to go to sleep. I'm tired. But my mind is like, nah, bitch, you got to write. You got to do a blog post. You have to send a newsletter. You have to do, you know, branding for this. You have to do this. So my mind will no longer allow me to stop. Years ago, I felt like something was missing in my life. So I picked up writing again. And then when I started, it's just something I knew, once I stop, I'm not going to be happy. So that's kind of the thing that keeps me going. And I'm like, if I'm putting so much work into this, then let me just try to see if I can monetize it or become better at monetizing. I definitely don't want to lose money on it, which is what I was doing
and it'll probably be that. It'll be like that quite a few times.
Oh, yeah, but I'm trying to lose less money. Like,
yeah. Yeah, no. I'm just pointing it out to listeners that, yeah, there are going to be those times where you are negative money or maybe just breaking even money. And it's okay. It's okay. It's a common experience.
Yeah, but I will say this, like, I can invest less into myself because I put so much into myself in the beginning, and I've just learned to be smarter about it. I think it's constantly thinking of ways to be smarter about it. In the past, I was just so excited to write. You know, I released 2 chapbooks in 1 year, and I had to pay for those chapbooks, and I had to tell them to try to get my money back. And then I realized, slow down, bitch. You can write a whole chapbook and just promote it for a whole year. And behind the scenes, you could be writing more chapbooks, just not releasing them. You know, sometimes we get so excited with our art, we want to, like, push it all out at the same time. But if you really want to try to, like, milk your moments and build that buzz, like, okay, when is the next thing? Then you can kind of, like, sit on things a little while longer and take your time. And that's something that I think has helped me save money. Helping me make any money.
Yeah.
But it's helped me save money.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like it's just this amoebic thing, and we just have to adjust along the way, learn and adjust, and like you said, be smarter as you go along and learn, and eventually you'll find that balance where it's a little more comfortable and a little more predictable. Hopefully.
And won't be desperate. I was like, should I start twerking on the Patreon? Should I, like...
Bitch, if I knew then what I knew now. Girl, I definitely would have been doing some strange for some change shit. And then I would be comfortably an artist. I would have seed money. I would be chilling. I wouldn't have to worry so much.
Like this feminist thing about not slut shaming, and then twerk for half an hour.
Shit.
Coins, bitch.
I mean, ain't no shaming over here, especially if you making money. I mean, you smart. That would be smart. I've got nothing but love. I wish I had the mind to do it now, but I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and figure it out a different way. But yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to impart to the people out here who are trying to make a name for themselves, but also giving them a bit of a scope about dealing with the money aspect of your creative dreams? Because it costs money to do what you want to do, especially if you want to do it well.
It sure does. I would just say there's nothing wrong with comfort zones to a certain extent. There's nothing wrong with going where you love. There's nothing wrong with if 5 people in a certain area or in a certain niche enjoy your work. There's nothing wrong with focusing on those people.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of, even if it doesn't lead to money, it's ultimately what will empower you to keep going, is knowing that you do have a couple of people, even if it's just a couple or a certain centralized people who fuck with you in that way. That's what's going to fuel you. And those are always the people that you should be making the most connections with. And as far as the monetizing, it is a struggle. I feel like there are a lot of people that are into this, here's a webinar telling you how I did it, or here's a webinar telling you what you should do, but really, some of it is luck.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's who you know, some of it is being at the right place at the right time, or just getting your work in front of the right person. So I don't have the answer for how to do it. I just know that it doesn't hurt to keep trying to do it.
Yeah.
And at no point, especially if you unless you're just the Mother Teresa of your art and you just want to give free shit.
Yeah. I mean,
if you have any sort of inkling that, hey, it would be really nice to make some change out of this, then you should definitely try, because what do you have to lose? You don't lose money from trying to put yourself out there if you're just doing social media and stuff. You start to lose money if you consider it losing money. I do certain things I think are valuable, doing the Facebook posts. You can curate who your posts go out to, that kind of thing. Boosting, doing that sort of promotion, little things here and there. It's not losing money, it's investing in yourself. So I think it's just kind of changing how you view things when it comes to your art, is that investing back into yourself is never a loss. So I think that's pretty much what I want to say. But if you have any tips for me,
well, tell the people where and how to find you, dear.
Okay, because I'm a promo whore, you can find me a million places. So I discovered that if you Google Whiskey Girl Poet, then I'm the first 4 searches. So
yay! Okay, there you go. Google database.
Because, Whiskey Girl is a famous country song. So yeah, if you Google Whiskey Girl, you're not gonna find me. But Whiskey Girl Poet is me. My website is Whiskey Girl Poetry. I'm sorry, I don't even know my own shit.
You drinking that whiskey a little too damn much.
Yeah, a little too much whiskey. So the website is whiskeyandpoetry.com, and on there you can find my Patreon account right on the first page. You can find, I have poetry galleries. I have the link to my podcast is there, the link to my blog. It's a ton of stuff. Under the shop tab, you can buy ebooks, you can buy the hard copy books. I'll send you a personalized copy. So I really just try to get people back to the website, which is whiskeyandpoetry.com. Both of my Instagrams are on there. I have one where I just write poetry on it every day. And then I have another Instagram account where it's all my events, my performing events, and kind of like my personal life stuff. So the best way to reach me is, for all things whiskey, is definitely the website, whiskeyandpoetry.com. And if you want to check out the Patreon because you're not sure what it's about, or you need an example, or you want to kick up some coins, then that's patreon.com/whiskey-girl. But I have my Whiskey Girl page on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, all of those things.
So you really out here.
My avatar was designed by Tracy herself. It's a green background with a black lady with dreads.
Oh, girl, I didn't design that. I made that on an app.
Oh. Well, yeah, but still.
Oh, no, I'm happy that you use it, though. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I just can't take credit for that. I wish. But, no.
On that. But still, that's kind of an example of how friends help you out a little bit. I'm not technology savvy. I don't know how people make those little avatars. I'm just like, how they created that?
I did design the shirt. I'll go ahead and jerk my dick and say that I did design one of your shirts. So
that happened.
But I will also make sure that I will put all the appropriate links to Whiskey Girl on the Art Life Confidential site. So be on the lookout for that. Whiskey, thank you so much for joining me today and being so candid. I would love to have you back.
I'm coming back. I'll be there in the summer, so maybe we could do one with you sitting.
A live. We could do a live. Our Life Confidential live.
We could do a live one.
Yeah. We could do, I don't know, go to a coffee shop or something, tell people about it. We can fuck around and do whatever, talk about some shit on there.
I'm with it. Absolutely.
All right.
You know what?
I'll figure that out.
Been okay to guest co-host on my podcast, so I appreciate you doing that.
Hell yeah. No, I love podcasting, and especially if I'm doing it with you, one of my BFFs, of course. So yeah, no, this doesn't feel like work at all. And I really just appreciate you, just sharing yourself with the audience today. And always a great time. So, all right. Hello again, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed learning a bit about Whiskey Girl, and I hope you enjoyed listening to our conversation about pursuing our creative goals while also learning how to profit off of it at the same time. I wanted to wrap things up here with some final thoughts. If you eventually want to take the leap and become a full-time artist, make sure that you have a plan before you do. Even if it's just a loose plan, a plan that allows you to be flexible when unexpected events or costs pop up and will have you in the least amount of panic modes, okay? The money will not be consistent. You have to understand that, even as a full-time artist. So you will have to prepare yourself for those inevitabilities. Consider multiple streams of income to keep you afloat. Part-time jobs, easy to sell items or services for quick cash. Be sure that you are advertising yourself on all the platforms where you have the most visibility and the most interaction with your viewers and your followers. You have to constantly let these people know where to find you and how to contact you so they can pay you for what you do. If you are like me and have a full-time job, so your creative pursuits are more on the part-time level, just know that it's okay if this is your situation. It doesn't make you any less of an artist if that's your situation. It doesn't mean that you're a sellout. It doesn't mean that you're any less serious about your passion than the next artist. It really doesn't mean any of that at all. I would say that the main thing is just to not let yourself fall into stagnation with it. It's so easy to allow ourselves to slack off because the full-time job is providing the main source of income, and so we just rely on that, or we get burnt out by our full-time gigs, so the part-time passion stuff can start to fall to the wayside. Sometimes you have to try not to let that happen so often. It is hard work, and if you want to see progress, you have to be serious about it, and you have to make sure that you work on disciplining yourself to work on your personal tasks whenever you can. Constantly pay attention to what works and what doesn't, learn from it and adapt, and just stick with it, okay? Stick with it, and eventually you will see the gains. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start signing off, but this conversation is not over. As always, I want to be able to continue to chat with y'all online. For all things Art Life Confidential, visit the website artlifeconfidential.com. Check out the blog for recaps, announcements, and resources that I'll share on there. Along with this episode, I will also be posting links to where you can find Whiskey Girl, so you can follow up with her and check out her writing and beautiful spoken word performances. I definitely implore you to go do that. It might change your life. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search Art Life Confidential and give it a follow. And if you like this episode, be sure to let me know. You can do this by commenting, sharing, subscribing to the show, rating the show. You can find me on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. So you have several options here, okay? Small actions like that would really help me out. And it's free. So, but no, seriously, it helps me know who's listening. And so I can keep bringing you topics that you want to hear. So y'all let me know what you're liking out there. And that's it. All right. Have a great week, y'all. Do something creative, and I'll see you in the next show. Bye.